So good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome everyone to the first Stamus Networks webinar of 2021. My name is Mark Durrett. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Stamus Networks, and I'll be your host for this event. I am joined by two of my colleagues at Stamus Networks, Éric Leblond, the lead developer of the Splunk app that we're going to talk about today, and our Chief Technology Officer here at Stamus Networks. Also joining me or us today is Peter Manev, our Chief Strategy Officer at Stamus Networks. In addition to being co-founders of Stamus Networks and responsible for the Stamus Networks commercial product portfolio, Éric and Peter are leaders in the open source community. They are both on the executive committee of the Open Internet Security Foundation, the OISF, significant contributors to the Suricata open source IDPS NSM project. And finally, both Éric and Peter are frequent participants in the NATO Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence for their Lock Shields and Cross Swords Red Team, Blue Team exercises. So today, we will be introducing the new Stamus Networks app for Splunk. The app, which we launched late last year, includes a powerful set of dashboards and query capabilities that get the most out of the Scirius Security Platform and Suricata data. So the app is open source, it's free, and it's currently available for download on Splunk base. So before we get started, I'd like to review a couple of housekeeping notes. Of course, your connection is muted during the call, so it won't be possible for you to interrupt the conversation or ask questions, unfortunately. But we will leave questions. We will leave time for questions at the end, and please enter those questions in the questions section of your Zoom control panel. And if that doesn't work for you, feel free to enter them into the chat. And as a participant today, you will receive a follow-up email with a link to download the presentation, so you don't have to worry about taking screenshots or notes. So now I will turn it over to Éric, who will lead us through the material. Éric, take it away.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Nice to not see you physically and get to this webinar. 2021 is the follow-up of 2020. And so I'm speaking from Brussels, Belgium, and Stamus Networks is a company that is spread across USA and Europe, with headquarters in Indianapolis and a second site in Paris, France. We are editor of the Scirius Security Platform, system for network threat detection, hunting, and response that is fully integrated with web interface, physical and virtual appliances. And we are big pro open source supporters with projects like GopherCap, that is a tool that we did recently published. We propose really nice pickup replay sales that is a widely used open source Suricata turnkey distribution. I propose you the community edition of Scirius, of the Scirius Security Platform, as part of the interface available. And recently, we did also publish the Stamus Networks app for Splunk that integrates Scirius Security Platform on regular Suricata probe into Splunk. I will not cover today the integration of Suricata inside Splunk via the app, because I did already do that in a joint webinar with OISF. And I will give you the link at the end of the presentation to the video that was recorded for the Suricata and Splunk interaction. So today I will focus really on the interaction between Scirius Security Platform and Splunk. I will first show the Scirius Threat Radar, explain the concept, do a demo, and same with the host identification feature that we have. And then I will do some IP analysis, anomaly detection using the app. So Scirius Security Platform is an all-in-one system with a manager, probes, and everything is managed through the web interface. And you can do threat hunting on the data using your interface, or you can use the data we provide in external tool like a SIEM or something like that, Splunk being one of them. We are doing rule-based detection, network traffic analysis, and we enrich everything with context like business context, like geo IP, a lot of different enrichment that allow you to get data that are ready for use with advanced tool that you can have in your organization. We have one last layer in the system, which is the high fidelity detection via the Scirius threat radar, where we are doing, I will explain that later, a switch from an approach that is per event to an approach by threat and asset that really change the way and really lower the noise. So a typical deployment will look like this, with a central manager, probe that can be local or that can be in remote branch office, and everything can be connected through the manager that will collect the log, allow you to manage the system, the upgrade, and also can transfer the data to the SIEM of the SOAR and push notification. We did introduce end of last year a really powerful webhook system that you can use. Given the benefit of a Scirius threat radar, for the first time, it's possible to send notification in a Slack channel without being killed by the noise of your network detection system. I don't know if I should take too long on this slide about Splunk. I think that it's currently really well known in the security community, because it's really one of the best systems to store the data and to query the data with a really powerful language. The search processing language, it's really impressive what you can do with it. It also provides some nice visualization dashboards, and the usage of Splunk in the security area is really high. It can be used directly via Splunk Enterprise, the main product of the company, as a SIEM, but you also have Splunk Enterprise Security, that is a dedicated SIEM solution by Splunk. To be able to get the best of the Splunk Enterprise Security, your data need to be compliant with the SIEM model that allow you to map feeds from different sources to the same place, like a source IP or an IP is always the same field. By doing this, you allow correlation between different sources, which is really interesting. For example, you can map the log from your HTTP server with the log from the firewall or the log from Scirius Security Platform. It's really easy to get data from Scirius Security Platform into Splunk. One of the best ways to do this is to use the integrated Splunk Forwarder that is installed on the probe. So you can just set it up inside the web management interface and send the log to your Splunk instance. You can even have complex setup like multiple Splunk indexer that receive the data, multiple Splunk forwarder. We can deal with a lot of things thanks to the configuration that is template based. So it allows you to do a lot without working too much on terms of administration. Another way to do this is to use the Syslog Output of the Scirius Security Platform. So in this case, the log will all come to the Scirius Security Platform that then will send via Syslog the event to Splunk. That's another way to do it. We did decide to work on the Splunk app because some of the data were not available inside Splunk, like host ID information were not available via Splunk because it cannot be exported because it's kind of a state. So as also a lot of our customers have Splunk as a single pane of glass, we did build this app that provides you ready to use dashboard, reports. It also implements the SIEM model for all the events coming from our probe and from Suricata. And it's available for everyone, as said by Mark before. It's available on Splunk base. The code is open source, available on GitHub, and it's AGPL v3 in terms of license. So the first module I want to show you through Splunk is the Scirius threat radar. So we did introduce the Scirius threat radar in June last year. It provides some advanced threat detection with a big shift in terms of concept, because we are not in the serious threat radar dealing with regular event like we can have in a security event, like we can have with an IDS, but with event that have a time span. For example, if we detect a malware, we will warn you that we have seen this malware in this phase of the key chain on this asset, and that we have seen, for example, a command and control phase from this point in time to this point in time. And this allows you to really reduce the noise, and we give you a focus, because multiple detection method can lead to the same thread being seen on an asset, so you don't have this multiplication of signature firing that you have with a traditional IDS. Yeah, so let's take a simple example. So we are using one really nice resources available on internet, which is a malware traffic analysis website that propose some pickup file of malware attack using malware on some specific network. So we did replay one of the pickup file proposed by the website. And if we take a regular IDS approach, we had something like 347 alerts, 23 different unique signatures, and 15 IP addresses that have been seen inside the alert event. So that's really a small scale on this malware pickup, because it's just basically 2 or 3 computers that are making the noise, but it's enough. It's big enough, so we already have 15 IP we need to sort out. So if you take that to the scale of a big organization, it can be really a problem. And the noise generated by IDS are really well known. So if you do that inside the serious threat radar, we will just have 2 threads seen on the network and just 2 assets. So it allows you to give directly a look to what is really important inside the network, inside of critical threat, and you can just focus on that. And we don't change the IDS part of the solution, so you can also jump back in the threat hunting solution to see the data. So let's get a look at the serious threat Stamus Networks as Splunk app for Splunk. So if I take the wording from Splunk, and I'll jump into the STR dashboard. So serious threat radar dashboard. So what do we have here? As I did explain before, we have first, one of the advantages of the serious threat radar is that we have keychain phase that can be seen on the system. So we have exploitation, command and control, delivery. So we see that we have a lot of methods, not a lot, 3 methods from exploitation to delivery that can be seen on this dashboard. We have the threat with name, so it's really easy to know what you have. And if you have some external resources or some other tool you want to integrate, knowing that it is a specific threat will allow you to really cross-match with your EDR or stuff like that. And we got the network information that are available. So here we just have one single network, marslab.stamus. And if we look at the asset timeline, which is, I think, the most interesting visualization in this dashboard, we can see that we have a 10.0.0.128 that have seen TrickBot. Then we had seen Eternal Blue on this hostname. So we are using here the hostname resolution done by the Scirius Security Platform through the host identification module. I will go back to that later. And then we have TrickBot seen on this second IP. So what do we have here? If you have followed a little bit the threat in the past, we know that Eternal Blue is a tool that is used for lateral movement. So let's get a look at, so possibly we have a lateral movement here. So let's see where it comes from. So I can drill down using the Splunk app, and then I go to a search. So this is the search bar for the one who don't know Splunk. I'm just looking to Stamus type event. Then I will apply a filter that will allow me to do name resolution, and then I will display, I will just search for the event. So we have here just 4 single events that are in fact from one single thread. The specificity of the Stamus event that reach Splunk through the Splunk Forwarder are the fact that you have this Stamus object here and some information below. This information below are really interesting because we are doing a strict assignment of things. So the asset is the one targeted by the attack. So we know that 10.00.10 has been attacked by Eternal Blue. We've got the family name, and we've got the threat name, which is Eternal Blue, because yes, we did filter on Eternal Blue, Splunk is working. If we look at the other interesting field that we have is the source. So we know that the source of the attack on 10.00.10 is the 10.00.128. So if we look back at what we had before on the dashboard, we can see that what did happen? We have, in fact, 10.00.128 that has been attacked via TrickBot, that has been compromised by TrickBot. Then this IP did use Eternal Blue to attack the 10.00.10 and install TrickBot on this box once the compromission has been done. So we almost have an incident response report done on this attack. We still are lacking some initial vector, but we got the way the threat did propagate through the network, clearly seen here. If we look at the name of the system, globalnets-dc.globalnets.org, we may have something that could be a DC, so a domain controller. So let's remember that when we will continue through the demonstration. So I did try to show you in doing this demonstration that it's really, thanks to the Scirius threat radar data, it's really not easy to identify threat, asset at risk, the kill chain phase. From Splunk, you can really easily determine the security posture through the Stamus Networks app for Splunk and the Scirius threat radar data. If ever you have a serious threat radar event on your network, you better look at it. In a lot of cases, it's really this is really a real threat, and you need to check it. One second feature that we can access through the Splunk app is the host identification feature. So let's get a look at the host identification feature. So the host identification feature is a feature where we collect all the events we see on the network, all the application layer transaction we see on the network through the probe, and we aggregate this information to build identity card of the host. So if I just look fast on the hunting interface that we have inside the Scirius Security Platform product. And if I go to the host tab, I will see, for instance, I can go on this one. I will see that for the 10.00.128, so that is our attacker on the 10.00.10, I've got 2 username, 5 HTTP agent, 4 TLS agent. And I know that I've seen the win HTTP sender, HTTP agent, for example, between this date and this date. So this system allows us to have a view of what did happen over the time on a system to basically do a baseline of every IP in the network, including a user agent, like HTTP user agent, username, but also if we look at this one, services. So all this information are in fact stored inside the Scirius Security Platform. So it's not possible to access them through the Splunk app. So the Splunk app has some script running looks like REST API did move, so REST API should be written here, PDF export issue. And we query so Splunk app is querying the Scirius Security Platform through the REST API to get the information from the host ID module inside the Scirius Security Platform. And we can also use the REST API to do some enrichment. I will show the different commands that we have just after this slide that explain the advantages of the host ID for the Splunk user. So in fact, we did run a pickup file, extract all the data that we can extract to see how big the data generated were, and we did compare that to the size of the host identification data from the same for the same traffic. And the ratio of compression was really below 1% of the size of overall network security monitoring data. So because it's really smaller in terms of size, you can keep them really longer. And this way you can query a baseline over multiple months to see the evolution of hosts on the network. So it's quite interesting because you don't have to query terabytes of data to just know the list of HTTP user agent or TLS GS3 on one single host. Because now everybody is already compute, you can just jump directly into this. In terms of Splunk license, it's really noticeable that you have no data store on Splunk, so you don't need to pay for this request. So let me give you some example. One of the commands that we did introduce in the Stamus app for Splunk is the SN host search command that allow you to that will produce some JSON entry that correspond to the host that match the filter that you put inside the filter. So here we have a filter that is give me all the HTTP server, in fact, because we ask for services where the application protocol is HTTP. And we add another constraint, which is I just want to see the server inside the rocket science network domain. You can also use there is also this second command, the SN host lookup, that can allow you to enrich the information. So that was the one that was used to show the host name instead of the IP. So you do any filter, and then you do a lookup using the data stored by Scirius Security Platform. So it's not an active resolution like using a reverse DNS request. It is in fact using all the information that talk about host name with regard to an IP address. So this information are collected, aggregated inside the host ID, and then you just get them through the SN host lookup command. So this the data, for example, that we are using here can be DNS request, can be host name in an HTTP or a TLS server name indication. It can also be a DHCP request. And we can use this to do the name resolution, so enrich your data by querying dynamically the REST API of the Scirius Security Platform. One other really interesting thing that you can do with this command is through the SN host filter command that allow you to filter on just the event you want from any source. So here, for example, I want the source to be the Nginx HTTP or HTTPS server. I want the HTTP status not to be 200 because it may be a problem. And I want to see the log only for the IP address where the user Craig.Jackson did connect. And I just have this key option that allows me to do a mapping between the source and what is an IP inside the source. So you can specify like this, that the client IP in the Nginx log, I want to get only the one where the user Craig Jackson did connect. So let's get a look at the host ID data. So I can go to the Stamus NDR Dashboard. I've got a classical thing, and then I've got the Sirius radar information with some requests that are using the facility. For example, we've got the TLS server not running on the port 443, so we've got this 2.1 on 447 with issuer then that looks like London. It's kind of strange. Example.com, that's not a good sign. And we got also this one, the HTTP servers not running on port 80, but is really interesting. And what also is really interesting is that we got the Cowboy HTTP server. I was not really familiar with this ones before a few months. So let's dive into this guy. Okay, so I've got the search, in fact, that is attached to the system. That is the following. So I've got the search give me all the server running HTTP, not on the port 80, which is exactly what I want. And then the rest has been added by Splunk to specify that we just want the Cowboy query with the IP that was linked to it. So let's get a look at the information that we have here. So we know that this box has been seen between just rapidly, just one hit, in fact, on this box, and that we have seen one service on the port 8082 that has this information. So it's like HTTP. We have seen this during this, between this to date, and the HTTP server was covered. So that's quite interesting, but I would like to know a little bit more about excuse me, about yes, well, I just want to get, in fact, all the Cowboy server because I've got this filter that is not interesting. So if I look here, I've got service value HTTP server. So if I do service value HTTP, no, HTTP, yes, server, equal Cowboy, and I delete, switch, okay. Okay, this is interesting. Oh. Okay. Do you still hear me? I'm still connected.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Sorry. I will just have a Splunk that it froze, which is quite uncommon. That's not fun. We had to have Murphy coming in the house. So I was in the search. So I was Stamus Security NDR Network Traffic Analysis Dashboard. No. Yes. Then I did jump on Cowboy. And I was like, okay, on get, not this, but it was service value HTTP dot server Cowboy. Okay. And if I do this, I got the answer that in fact I've seen only two different HTTP server where the service name is Cowboy. So that's quite interesting to see this guy. So, but what do we have behind? So in fact, I can do something like convert this to a SN host filter. So I will filter the event, and then I will say something like, give me all the Stamus event where the HTTP server Cowboy were involved. What I did miss. Okay, let me paste it. Okay. You're typing questions. Okay. I got something. Definitely some problem with this demo. Because if I look at my note,
is it the time span, Eric?
I should not. No, it should not be that. SN host search, but seriously, I've done that 10 times today and yesterday. That's nice. Okay, so the SN host filter is crashing. Okay, So in fact, okay, just to show you what I wanted to have, is like you can use the SNS filter and then filter of any event, like I did show you in the previous slide. And if we do that, we will see that we have, in fact, a trick bot that is used on this cowboy event. Sorry for the bug. Yes, so let's go back to the slides. Okay, so you can use this steady module to get a baseline of the network. And you can also use it as an inventory data provider. So you can search host following characteristics that can be really specific, like what type of user agent, what type of services are running. Via the SN host filter, you can search across the source, which allow you to combine this inventory data and use with as a filter on other search that you can do. And you can use it for detect anomaly like HTTP server not running on the port 80, but we can do far more. So let's get a look at the IP analysis. So the IP analysis is a common feature when you want to know what kind of information you have. So let's open the 10.00.10. I think 60 minutes will be not enough. Let's put 4 hours. Okay. So what do we have here? So we have it on 10.00.10. We have a box where we have seen one name, which is the globalnet dc.globalnet.org, 8 services, 5 user agents. 8 services is a bit high. It has to be a server or something like that. So let's get a look. We can see that we got 2 threads detected on this system, Eternal Blue and TrickBot. And we can have a look at the identify services. So the identify services, we have Kerberos 5 on the port 80, we have SMB on the port 445, and we have DC RPC also, and we have 389, which is LDAP port. So we have a box that runs Kerberos, SMB, LDAP, DC RPC. So we have something that should be a domain controller. So the indication that we have here on the name, the globalnet-dc, is confirmed by the identify services on the box. Let's get a little bit down on this dashboard and look at the HTTP user agent. So here we have something that is a domain controller that is doing some Mozilla. Then we got 2 Win HTTP user agent. Okay, the usage of the browser is not big, so nobody should be connected on this box. And we have something that is quite interesting, is that we have seen at 2 p.m. we have seen curl, which is a command line tool to fetch object on internet at the version 769.1. And if we look a little bit later, we have curl 761.0 seen 7 minutes later. So how can you have 2 versions of the same curl going backward in time, because the .1 is more recent from the .0, so it really looks like something that has been forged on this system. So we have an indication that a curl has been used by some malware or just declared by some malware. Let's just get a look at the other host that was involved in this set of attacks on the 10.00.128. In this case, we see that we have 2 users that have been found, Craig Jackson and Jackson-PC $, which is usually a system user. We see that we have 3 bots on this system, and if we look at the HTTP user agent, is looking more common, even if we still have the curl 761 that has been used here. So it seems that it may be the thread that is on both sides, so TrickBot, that is using this curl HTTP user agent. Yes, so let's get back to the Stamus IP analysis. So I've done the demo. So yes, you can really use the host ID data mixed with the NSM data, but I forgot to show you. Like we got here the rare visited HTTP host name, the top visited HTTP host name that can be seen here. And as you see, we've got .quad IPv4 addresses that have been directly used as an HTTP hostname. So that's a bad sign. Usually you don't hit, like me, directly the IP address in the bar when you go outside on the internet. So that's a sign of malware activity. And you've got also some activity on the TLS. Then here we got the matrix, so activity of the system as a server, and on the other one, the second part of the communication matrix, which is the activity of the client as client for this IP. So we can see that he did connect indeed to the 10.10 as acting as a DNS. He also did do 445, so SMB on this IP. So we got the trace of the traffic using the flow data generated by the probe, in fact. Now let's get into the anomaly detection. So we have a dashboard where we are showing anomaly detection. So let's just get to it. So if I go to Stamus Networks host anomaly, I've got one first request that is the new services on non-host. So here we are using the host ID, and we are checking for host entry that were now before the last 24 hours, and where a new services has been seen in this last 24 hours in this time range. So in this case, we just have a PCAP that has been replayed this afternoon, so nothing there because the data are new. Alert spike is another algorithm where we're detecting spike in a unique alert for a single host for alert that have not been seen before. So it's a new activity in terms of alert for host on the burst that show some quite good result if you have live data on the long run. If we look at the other one, we've got the HTTP user agent anomaly, where we compute the rareness of HTTP user agent, and we display the most rare agents that are also recent, so that has been seen in the latest period. So if we look at what we have 4 agents that have been catched by the system. And let's get a look at the request. So the request is a SNS search. We are just asking for all the host entry where we have an HTTP user agent. Then when we do some cooking to extract fields from the JSON entry, but that can be then easily used by Splunk. And we do some global statistics. So we check the count of IP per agent, and the minimum time we have seen, the first time we have seen the agent. Then we count globally the max total, the agent with a less hit and the agent with a maximum hit, and this allows us to build a rareness indication by doing a mathematical formula. It's just basically doing getting the rareness to 1 by doing the maximum range and dividing the agent count by the maximum range. And then we are using just a detail on the search to say when the agent first seen is more recent from the time span, and the agent prime, so the rareness, is a smaller font 2, and then we display the information. So we see really the power of the Splunk programming language because it can do computation, it can do statistics inside the search. So it's really, really, really powerful and you can use it to build some anomaly detection. And there are also some module like machine learning that you can use to do this based on this host data on any of the data that you can have. Okay, so with the host ID, you can establish a baseline. It's not costly in terms of storage or in terms of query because the data are really, really compact, and it allows you to detect anomaly because you can detect change, new stuff that have been seen on host, usually new stuff. It's or migration inside the information system, or it's just some real anomaly, like we've seen here with this malware that have been found on the network. Yes, and you can leverage the Splunk power because you need to do advanced queries. You can use all the power of Splunk, and we are working on this Splunk app to provide you examples through the dashboard, so you don't have to start from scratch, but you can just see what is there, use it, and build from that. So I hope I did explain you and show you enough of Scirius Security Platform combined with Splunk. So now you are convinced that we got some kind of a solution that is really efficient in terms of network detection and response, with really advanced network analytic and directionally actionable event through the Scirius Threat Radar. And the integration with Splunk is as easy as it is with other tool. And so we can really claim that we integrate seamlessly in the ecosystem. If you want to have proof of that, you can read the blog post about VIF that has been published yesterday, how to integrate with incident response through the webhook system inside Scirius Security Platform. If you have not seen my presentation on the power of Suricata with the new Splunk app, the link is there. And as Mark did tell us before, you will be able to use it. You will have a mail, sorry, with the presentation, so we'll be able to directly access to this video. Thank you.
Thank you, Éric, for that very detailed introduction to the Stamus app for Splunk and for those great examples. So now Peter is going to lead us through the question and answer part of the program here. And as a reminder, if you haven't done so, you may enter your questions in the Q&A section on your Zoom control panel. And if that's not working for you, just feel free to drop them into the chat window. If we don't get to all your questions, we'll answer them in written form and share that in a follow-up email. So, Peter, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks very much, Mark. Much appreciated. Éric, great presentation. Thank you. I can just add in, for example, on the anomaly queries done in Splunk, they're actually, in that respect, they're much more powerful than out of my own experience in Kibana compared to Elasticsearch. So it has much more power. I think we've discussed that with you before anyway, but you can really see the difference of what you can do with one and the other, for example. That's a very good example. So we have a couple of questions and from the attendees. Thanks very much for that. So let's go through them one by one. What do you say, Éric? We do that? And we try to answer them. Right. So first question. I know you wrote the app for Splunk, but is Splunk required for Threat Radar, or is there another way to get to it?
Yes, there is. You can just directly go to the Scirius Threat Radar via a web interface for the Scirius Threat Radar, where you will see exactly what we have seen in the Splunk data. So the 1128 on the 10, TrickBot, Eternal Blue, everything is there.
Okay. All right.
So you can just use that. Yes, here we got, for instance, the Eternal Blue page, and we see that the 1010, the offender is 128, exactly what we have done in the Splunk app.
Right, cool. So you basically pull that, the exact same info you pull it out of the Splunk app.
Yes. We're just translating the data from Scirius Security Platform to Splunk. That's all.
Excellent. All right. Next question. You mentioned that the Splunk app supports Suricata. Can you help me understand what the differences are between the Suricata support and the Sirius?
Yeah, so if we look at the dashboard side that we have a bit more dashboard on stuff, a bigger number of dashboard inside Stamus, but that's not what really matters. In fact, I did try to simulate what we can do inside Stamus, even with a host ID, inside some Suricata dashboard, but the problem is that you need to query a huge amount of data. In some cases, you will miss information. So the support is, you get a really less answer on various things like the SM host lookup, or you want to reach the information that you cannot really easily simulate by using the Suricata data. So you have something powerful with Suricata, but it's really more complex to do. In some cases, it's almost impossible because you will have some answer in a few minutes instead of a few seconds.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next question. I know you wrote the app for Splunk, but is Splunk required for threat radar, or is there another way to get to it?
I did show the threat radar just before. So
yeah, we already asked.
No, we did already answer, Peter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading the first question. Apologies.
No, we are good with this one.
Apologies. Okay. Well, I just wanted to see threat radar again. Is that right? Huh? I mean, come on. Yeah, thank you. So, next question. If my Suricata or Sirius generates large logs, is there anything that can be done to reduce the volume of data that is written into Splunk? Because as you know, okay, that's a good question, because Splunk is a bit pricey. It charges per volume, so it might be relevant to big deployments.
There is some filter integrated inside the Scirius Security Platform that allow you, for example, if you want to log. Okay, first thing, if you don't want to log all the application layer event, you can just use, in this case, the host ID that will provide you kind of a baseline. For sure, it's not as complete as a full network security monitoring, but it gives you some data. So if you want to keep all the network security monitoring data on, I think it's a good choice. In some cases, you will have duplicate. And we can fix this duplicate by, for example, say that I don't want to. If you have a DNS request and you have already the log of your DNS server inside your SIM, maybe you don't want to log the request for your own domain, so you can do, for example, I want to ignore all the DNS requests to stamusnetworks.com, and I want to ignore my domain server because I already got the log in my SIM. So by doing this, you can lower. We got a few filters like that are available that are used to really lower the volume of data that you need to send to Splunk. And you can also, by the way, keep some of our customers are doing that. Keep the NSM inside Elasticsearch and only send via alert to Splunk.
All right, cool. That's a way to save some on the license. Next question, sorry, Éric. So if I want to try this out, can I get a free demo?
I think you can send an email to sales@stamusnetworks.com, and then we can define the time for a demo. No problem. To sales or contact@stamusnetworks.com.
Cool. Thank you. Next one. Am I able to customize the data that is displayed on the IP analysis dashboard?
Yes. In fact, you can do a copy of the dashboard, or you can just. So if we go to IP analysis, you can just do a copy of the dashboard if you want. You can edit it through the interface. Everything is possible. You can do your own copy. I think even by default, Splunk is doing a copy in local, so you won't overwrite your own dashboard. But it's better to just save it as a copy, and then you can work on it to integrate other things. Or you can just, if you already have an IP investigation, you can just add the panel. It's easy to add panel that are already existing in other dashboards. So you can use that to integrate the panel from the Stamus Networks IP investigation inside your own dashboard.
So basically, like if you want to, you can just copy a dashboard or visualization or a report and mix and match and make your own custom one if you want to. It's no problem. Okay, cool. Okay, next question. Does Stamus use a unified data model to make correlation with other data like firewall or authentication logs that I'm already collecting? Can my other data be pulled into Stamus and, for example, endpoint data as well and things like that?
Yeah, so in fact, the app make the data from Stamus probe and from Suricata sensor compliant with the SIM model. So it means that we got a lot of fields that are mapped to common fields that allow you to, for example, the most frequent is the IP. So you can have the IP from the EDR will be accessible through the same field inside the Stamus. Reverse Splunk will access the IP from the EDR solution on the IP that correspond to the same from Stamus event in the same field. So you can do correlation on that. That's
pretty cool. That's very important actually for like the complete end-to-end analysis, correlate with endpoint and firewalls and proxy logs and all that stuff, especially nowadays in the enterprise environments. Very cool. Okay, next question, reading out here. I noticed on Splunk base that the current version of the app is 0912. When do you plan to release 1.0? And can we consider this current version stable and production ready?
So yes, I think the current version is production ready. We want to increase a little bit the completeness of usage of the REST API from Splunk to Scirius Security Platform before releasing 1.0, but it should happen in the following month.
Okay, I'm looking at it, and unless I'm thinking there's a last question here, at least so far. Can I send notification to a SOAR or messaging platform for incident response?
Yeah, sure. We have a webhook system that you can trigger on a Scirius Threat Radar event that will allow you to send a message with all the metadata that we have in the event directly from the Scirius Security Platform to any component. And we are using a really powerful Jinja 2 based template. So it allows you to construct even logic inside the message that you want to send, so you can extract different fields, map everything you want. It's really, really powerful.
And helps with automating the stuff, because actually you do need it. Because you don't have, nowadays, at least from what I've noticed from my own experience, there's a lot less and less time for actually experienced people to sit down in front of the dashboards and actually dig in. So any sort of automation goes a long way and helps a long way. My personal 5 cents from what I've seen anyway. Okay, seems there's no other questions in the QA chat anyway. Yeah, Eric, very good demo once again. Very cool. I think one question comes in now. How does the solution minimize the number of alerts we normally flood it with?
I think the answer is that what I've shown in the slide about the Scirius Threat Radar, no, this one was the idea. Scirius Radar was on top here. Okay, so here we have a really good case for IDS because it's a pickup with bad data inside. So that's the less noisy one. You don't have the usual noise that you have with an IDS. Just for this one, we already have 347 alerts. It can span over a long time. If you look at what we have in Scirius Threat Radar, we just have 2 threats on 2 assets. You really know if you are looking extensively about the pickup, but we did not miss the main point in terms of threat on this traffic. So that's, I think, one of the key points of the Scirius Threat Radar. It really lowers the noise. And that's why, so if you are using a webhook to send the 347 alert to your Slack channel, it's definitely a no-go. Here you will have one first alert for TrickBot, 1 second for Eternal Blue, and 1/3 for TrickBot on the 62.10. So it's really
yeah, sure. I can expand a little bit on that actually, because this is a demo approach. But like, for example, I know what it is to receive 347 alerts on the webhook notification channel. We use it minimum daily, if not hourly now, QA. So you know, my phone goes boom, 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 berserk. So it's really not optimal, guaranteed. But also, this actually screenshot translates perfectly into. So I was, believe it or not, a couple hours before this call, I was in a call with a customer, and what they had there was actually even more revealing. They had 2 billion events and 1 event that they needed to check out on the threat radar. So they're still investigating that. Haven't let me know what the event was. But in terms of the things that you need to tackle immediately, that's a great relief already for an already overloaded SOC team. So yeah, I can definitely vote in again for that one.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I think that we're running out of time here, so we're going to need to wrap up.
All right.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Peter. Really appreciate that. Thank you all attendees who took an hour of their day to spend with us today. Hope it was informative and useful for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, all attendees will receive a copy of the slides across the email, using the email address that you registered with. So I believe that wraps it up. And thank you again, everyone. And
thank you very much, folks.
Thanks, everyone.